Welcome back to the test server where we have plenty of exciting news for all of you that may hate drones, that may feel like your Typhoons have been a bit dull lately, or you're new to the game, you crafted yourself a pair of Avengers as your very first gun and you felt like they don't really feel like what a cannon should, or you're the type of person who likes to remove frames in one hit just as the good old block or the good old Scorpion used to do, but now the blockchain does it. There's plenty of things. Let's cover all of them in this video. I want to start off with the top of the patch notes, and that is on hovers. The hovers were subject for a lot of changes lately, and a bit of those changes stayed, and that is more specifically the change that makes hovers have only 750 tonnage in... Can I find someone that's not fused? There we go. 750 tonnage instead of the old 850 tonnage, which is on the server right now. So each hover will lose 100 kilograms of tonnage, and then besides that, the turning speed of hovers have also been reduced by 25%. This is, you feel your hover being a little bit more sloppy than it used to be before, but the 25%, it's not something that completely kills it, and I honestly think that this is a great change for hovers. So a little less tonnage, meaning that your builds will have to be a little more light, or you will have to find alternatives to the way that you build at the moment. But all in all, not massive changes, just a little nerf to it, which I think is a great start. Besides that, as I said, Avenger cannon changed, Judge cannon changed. Both of them have gotten a little bit more projectile damage. And then the Avenger also has gotten explosion radius buff, and both of them has gotten a little bit, actually, the Judge also explosion radius. And then the Avenger also projectile impact impulse, so meaning that it hits, bam, builds a little bit harder when you hit with it. And then the Typhoon, which is the last cannon that is being changed, and the Typhoon is actually being changed in a way that it now gets a little bit more damage, both damage to the bullet hit. You know, they split up the cannon damage into two pieces a couple patch, or the last major patch that we had. So now cannon hits deals bullet damage as well as explosion damage, and the bullet damage itself is a hit that deals X amount of damage, and if you shoot through a part, then the damage will transfer to the next part. Besides that, it also deals AoE damage, which is just the classical damage around the center of impact. And for those two things, the damage of the Typhoon has been increased by 5% on the bullet damage, as well as 7% on the AoE damage. So both of those have increased a little bit. Let's just find a build here to see if we can find something that will just showcase what this looks like now. Overall, this change that makes it so that the Typhoon feels like it hits just a bit harder now. Personally, I think this is a great change. It brings it to a level where you can actually feel like it's a relic now. It still doesn't blow up everything like it did before, but the overall hit you deal is just a bit higher. But we're gonna have to see the change on the live server before we can sort of play some games with it and see how it feels. Then we're also looking at the Wasp, which is having its shrapnel damage reduced by 12%, not major either. And then another change which has already made a huge impact on the live servers because of the pricing of the weapon. The Emily is now 4 energy instead of 5. So a little less energy to play these guns, meaning that you can bring them to lower power score. You don't need as much energy to play 3 of these either, which I think is it's a tiny weapon. It doesn't have to take up 5 energy. It's too much because the weapon wasn't all that good. I think it's a great change. And then the Storm and the Whirlwind auto cannons, both of those auto cannons are being changed. I don't have the Storm in my inventory, so let's just go in here and find it. And for the Storm, damage reduced by 7%, as well as the bonus for the perk reduced from 14 to 12%. Then we have the Whirlwind. It's not having its damage reduced like it did in the last test server, but instead they're changing the perk. So the damage only increases by 30% instead of 35%. And finally, for the autocannon duel, the damage is being nerfed by 7%. Then on to the Assembler, which is another gun that is taking a bit of a hit, and which I know that most of you guys also find to be pretty fair, and frankly, so do I, because this weapon is super strong right now. But what they have done is that the perk now recharges... Oh, that 666. Whoops. But now the perk recharges quicker. And this means that, as you can see, the weapon quicker overheats, which also means that now the weapon will not stack as much damage, because usually when you hold the button down, the more you stack the perk, the more damage the weapon deals. but this damage will be lowered since the weapon now quicker overheats. So that is a little damage nerf to the assembler per hit, but it still hits very, very hard. Moving on, we also have a change to the Grenadier Drone. So now we have actually seen this before, but the Grenadier Drone will have its max speed reduced from 80 to 70, and then it will have the drone durability reduced from 140 to 130. So it'll drive a bit slower and be a little bit more squishy. Not as much as last server, as far as I remember, but it is still a change nevertheless, and it is a fine change in my opinion. And finally, I think one of the things about drones that a lot of you guys have been wanting to see, and something that will hopefully bring some people back to the game which otherwise would have quit it, is the fact that the Annihilator drone is being changed a lot. The Annihilator drone will now only have 75 HP rather than 100. It was 60 on the last test server, and I don't know why they decided to give it more HP. I looked through the feedback on the English forum at least, and I saw no one who said that the hit on the HP was too much. The strong thing about the Annihilator is that it follows you around, and it's so hard to hit, and it's still so hard to hit. So unless you stand completely still, the thing that the drone won't change position more than every third second is completely irrelevant. You have to stand completely still until you can like hit the drones with confidence. Otherwise they just move too quickly because they follow a target no matter how fast you go. So that just it's just so hard to, you know, do anything about the drone. If you're say you want to shoot this drone down because it's attacking your ally, it's near impossible if he doesn't stand still. Then the thing that the drone stands still in the air also doesn't matter. So it's just, I think 60 is more suitable when considering that the drone is so hard to hit. But the interesting thing about it is fixed a bug where the drone continued attacking an enemy that went invisible. Before, these drones would hunt you down no matter what you did. You could cloak, you could run around, it could take them 8 seconds before they got to you. They would still hit you even though you were cloaked. This doesn't apply anymore, and I recorded a few clips here that shows exactly how they work, so let's roll those right now. Just put them on me and then, you know, that'll...
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, good, they break off. And nice, they're attacking me, super annoying. Cloak, they go away. Nice. As you can see from that, the drones can actually get, you know, they will stop targeting you the second that you cloak, and they can target you and kill you, or not kill you, but they can attack you and you can cloak and then they go away instantly. This is such a massive change, and I really think this will help out so much. Is it the death of the Annihilator drone? Not sure about that, but I do think that they have taken quite the hit. And then on to another weapon which is so interesting, which is the blockchain. And the blockchain is a weapon that has for a long time been quite useless, to be honest, but the blockchain is also subject of quite the change today. This means that the blockchain, we saw it in the last test server, that the blockchain will now remove frames much more easily. We saw on the last test server that the blockchain could remove pretty much any frame besides the 8x4 heavy frame. This is almost still the case on last test server. The one blockchain dealt 56 damage to one frame, which was, I think, what did we calculate, around 55% damage reduction. Now the damage reduction is closer to 68%, I think we calculated. So it deals 41 damage on a 8x4 heavy frame, and that is the maximum damage it can deal on a frame. So it still removes a lot of frames. The key point here is the fact that it can remove any frame if you just have 3 of them. Like run 3 and you'll be able to take out pretty much any frame in one hit, or you will be able to take out any frame in one hit, considering that you actually... Will you stop running from me so that I can shoot that frame of yours there? The point is just that it takes out a lot of frames here. As you can see, bam, there we go. Build, gone. And that's just sort of the thing about the blockchain that they wanted to do. I mean, a lot of people are annoyed by this because they find it to be super strong. That was a terrible hit, by the way, but you can remove all frames in your test garage here in just one hit. So it does strike for a lot of damage. The thing is that I'm shooting pretty much stationary. Stop shooting me. I'm shooting stationary targets right now, which is why I'm hitting the frames every single hit. In combat, that's of course going to be harder, but it's not going to be impossible by any means. So this on a banana will without a doubt be super strong. And as you can see there, 2 shots, this build is completely gone, and that's all it takes. Blockchain will be an interesting weapon. Not sure if it will hit the live servers in this current shape that it is in, but I hope that they keep it in the same style, because I like this style of weapon, and it takes some skills to actually be able to confidently snipe out frames. But once you get used to it, you can also just be super effective for your team. And it is just an epic weapon with a rather big profile and not a lot of HP, 260, so it falls off easily. Do not forget that. It's going to be interesting to see. It might need some more nerfs, but for now, I want to see what this works like in the live service, and then take it from there. Then they can always balance it a little bit afterwards. And then for the last changes on the server, these are pretty much what they used to be, but the shotguns, the limited firing angle shotguns, I should say, once again to the technology tree. The Spitfire will have its optimum range increased from 20 to 50 meters. We covered this in the previous videos. I'm not going to go into depth with it, as well as the Rupture. And the optimal range is basically the range where the weapon will still deal 100% damage. So this has been increased to 50 meters, meaning that you can deal a lot of damage at longer distances with these limited firing angle shotguns. These shotguns are not very overwhelming at the moment, so I think it's a great change indeed, and I do indeed welcome it. And then besides that, we just have the Fafnir getting a bit more HP. We also had that in the last one, so we just kept that. And as well, the wheels, the changes to the wheels, being able to put the wheels closer to the frames or to the fenders is also being kept. So all of those things are what is new in this test server. An amazing test server, in my opinion. I really hope that the test server hits the live servers like it is right now, because this is a game balancing for you, and this is what people ask for. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this too. Nevertheless, I did, and this has been it for this test server. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for an amazing live stream earlier. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.